أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ثم الصلاة والسلام على سيد الخلائق أجمعين حبيب إله العالمين المصطفى الأمين بالقاسم محمد.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد
وعلى آل بيت الطيبين الطاهرين الغر الميامين، لا سيما بقية الله في الأراضين، مهدي هذه الأمة وخاتم الأئمة وطاووس أهل الجنة الحجة بن الحسن العسكري، روحي وأرواح العالمين لتراب مقدمه الفداء. قال الله العظيم في محكم كتابه الكريم: أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. وجعلنا منهم أئمة يهدون بأمرنا لما صبروا وكانوا بآياتنا يوقنون. آمنا بالله. صدق الله العلي العظيم.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
In Islam, there's different levels of Iman. There are people who become Muslim but didn't become mu'min. And the levels of Iman, beliefs, are as well differs from one person to other. Some people, the level of Iman on the 10th of the levels. Some people are not. And that goes back to one essential factor, and that is certainty. Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam says in a hadith that من أيقن بالخلف جاد بالعطية, that a person who is certain that there will be a return for what he gives, he will give more. You know, if they tell you now that there's a bank that gives you 100 times interest more than others. Like, if you give $1, you get $100 in return. What will you do? Of course, I'm giving that as an example. Interest in itself, like that, it's haram. It's riba. But let's just assume, for the sake of arguments, what people do, they start borrowing. They will start selling their belongings to put it there, to get a return. Says, okay, if I give $1,000, if I give $100,000, so they will start selling their belongings even to get that return. Why? Because they will see that the return is a lot. And if that bank tells you that, it's not just that, it will set you for life. For life, yes, forever. Forever? Yeah. What would you do? You will go probably crazy giving everything that you have. So it's no strange to a mu'min to give without the fear of becoming poor. There's a saying in Arabic, especially in regards of A'imma, when the people ask them and they gave, they say, هذا عطاء من لا يخاف الفقر. This is a kind of giving that this person doesn't fear poverty. Like he gives, because people, Even the richest of people, they are afraid that one day they will be poor. They start accumulating, even though they have, some of them, they have money that they cannot spend in their lifetime. So that certainty that it's called in Islam yaqeen. Yaqeen. Of course, I mentioned this before, there's 3 levels of yaqeen. Right? The first level, that it's the knowledge, ilmul yaqeen. The knowledge, right? Everyone knows that he will die. No one gets out of this world alive. كل نفس ذائقة الموت. You will taste death. That you have that knowledge. Then there's another knowledge, that's aynul yaqeen, when he witnesses it himself. When he goes to the graveyards, burying his loved ones. He says, oh, I see it myself here. It is there. Then says what? Haqqul yaqeen. When you taste it yourself. And we have that in Surah At-Takathur. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ألهاكم التكاثر حتى زرتم المقابر كلا سوف تعلمون ثم كلا سوف تعلمون كلا لو تعلمون علم اليقين لترون الجحيم ثم لترون عين اليقين ثم لتسألن يومئذ عن النعيم. You will see عين اليقين is death. You will see it. واعبد ربك حتى يأتيك اليقين. Worship Allah until yaqeen is described as what in Quran here? Death. That's why some people, they have that certainty. In the hadith of Imam Baqir salawatullahi wa salam alayhi, says something very beautiful in regard of yaqeen, that al-yaqeenu khatarat, I'm paraphrasing, that comes and goes. Says, there is nothing less that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave among His creation less than yaqeen. It will come into someone's heart. That heart will transform, Imam described as zubar al-hadid, like an iron. Will be strong. Nothing can shake him off his belief. Nothing. No one. He stands firm. He has yaqeen. And if it leaves the heart, because sometimes it comes but doesn't stay, just comes and leaves, right? And that's in regard, if you want an example, regard of death. We always forget about death. It says that if the sheeps, right, or if the animals that we slaughter know that what will happen to it and know about death, you will not eat a fat one. They will always be what? Depressed. Not gonna eat because they know they're gonna be eaten. For the majority of the people, 99% of the people, their bodies will be eaten. Not by other animals, but under the ground, again, gonna be some other creatures, critters, whatever. Just today, I was reading this news in regards of how long it takes for the human body to dissolve. And it depends on whether it's in a coffin, whether it's in the straight and under the without a coffin, and depends on the where it's buried and all that. But again, will take some time. Differs, of course, between place and place and between the way they bury it. But at the end, it will be gone. It will be gone. You know, 100 years ago, that is what? In early 20th century, right? People interest and people fought with each other in regards of, maybe now we see it as something ridiculous, right? 200 years ago, go back more and go back. Some people killed each other for as little as a mirror. A mirror. That's mine, no, that's mine. Something rare it was. Or a piece of land, it's common. Right? This land is mine, and it says, someone else says, no, it's mine. But do we have any interest in reading even that history? I don't think so. Right? Maybe some people in some, village, one killed his neighbor for a little bit of more water. Right? Do we care anymore? No. 100 years later, do people even write about it? Do even people care? No. That our disputes gonna be like that. The majority of our disputes gonna be like that. The majority. It's not gonna be something more, unless it's, of course, a really big struggle between the haqq and the batil, maybe. But other than that, no. And that is the majority. I remember once I saw in Iraq, like there is this dispute in regards of two teams, and that is not a national team even, in regards of like it's Barcelona and Real Madrid. And they're Iraqis. What's in it for you? What's in it for you? They're shouting at each other, writing articles, like, what's in it for you? Probably in 100 years or in 200 years, those teams will not be even there, exist. Well, people gonna even think about it? Or like actors, for example. Some actors were really famous at their time, and later in life, people will even disregard them. So that was even funny how they acted back then, right? Or how even they talked. Some people have that, their eyes and the eyesight on the goal. And they disregard everything else. Everything else, for them, they see it as something useless, something that it should not take any space or in their life or any time. Doesn't take anything. They disregard it. Even when they talk, when they see this what I'm talking about is useless, he's not gonna even argue about it. He's not gonna even argue about it. How the people are firm is how they truly believe, and that's amount of certainty they have. Even Ibrahim ala nabina alayhi wa ala nabina wa alayhi afdal salati wa azka salam said to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that liyatma'inna qalbi, in regards of what? In regards of how the dead will be resurrected. And it's a famous narration, and it's in the Quran, that take a few birds and kill them and mix their feather and the blood and put it like in a separate places and call upon them, see how they come. Right? Or in regard of Uzair, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when he asked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, أَنَا يُحْيِي الْأَرْضَ هَذِهِ بَعْدَ مَوْتِهَا, how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will resurrect all of that after it dies. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He took him and after he said to, when he resurrected him, look at your donkey. Certainty is nothing to be taken lightly, because our fate depends on it. Our whole fate. And the amount of certainty that you see some people have, the amount of yaqeen they have, it will reflect upon them and how they will live their lives. The hadith in regards of that is a lot, but one of the results of certainty that Amir al-Mu'mineen sallallahu alayhi wa sallam says, as-sabru thamaratul yaqeen. Having patience is one of the results and the fruits of what? Yaqeen. Someone says, it's just a few years. May Allah have mercy on the soul of all mu'mineen and mu'minat. My grandfather used to say, it's hard only the first 100 years. After that will be easy. For them, it's just a few days, few minutes, that's it. Then, one of the other results of yaqeen, it is al-yaqeenu yuthmiru az-zuhd. He's not going to accumulate money a lot. He will see, they will. Rasulullah Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. I saw a young man praying at the mosque, very thin. His color has been changed, and he looked sick. He went to him and told him, what's going on? He said, Ya Rasulullah, asbahtu muqina. I have certainty now. Rasulullah asked him, وَمَا عَلَامَةُ يَقِينِكَ? What is the sign of your certainty? Says, when I read Quran, when I pray, I see myself watching heaven and the bounties of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And alongside of that, I see myself looking at the people that are being tortured in hellfire. Rasulullah, he says, yes, that is one of the signs of someone who became muqin. Then he asked Rasulullah something. What would you ask Rasulullah in his position? He said, Ya Rasulullah, I asked you to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for me to be killed in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, become martyr. And Rasulullah asked for him that. And they say one of the wars, 9 people were martyred, and he was the number 10. This world for you is, they're not gonna, they're gonna eat to survive and not gonna live to eat. Some people live to eat. For them, that's not the purpose of life. And one of the other thing is in the narration, Amir al-Mu'mineen sallallahu alayhi wa sallam says, في التوكل حقيقة الإيقان. He has yaqeen, then he will have reliance on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Imam al-Baqir alayhi salam says in the beautiful hadith, الإيمان ثابت في القلوب واليقين خطرات. Oh, I said this. صلى على محمد وعلى محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآله. أمير المؤمنين صلوات الله وسلامه عليه says, لا يجد عبد طعم الإيمان حتى يعلم أن ما أصابه لم يكن ليخطئه وأن ما أخطأه لم يكن ليصيبه وأن الضار النافع هو الله تعالى. Amir al-Mu'mineen says that You know how sometimes you nearly get hit by a car? It says, that wasn't supposed to be you. Right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't miss. Your faith not gonna miss. Right? If you have true reliance upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? قُلْ لَا يُصِيبُنَا إِلَّا مَا كَتَبَ اللَّهُ عَلَيْنَا. That nothing will happen to us unless Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala decides it. That is one of the results of yaqeen. And in the same regard, says that a person who has yaqeen, he doesn't need to do much. He, while he's asleep, with yaqeen, with certainty, is better than someone who is praying with doubts, while having doubts. There's a lot of people who pray, but having doubts. Someone, actually certainty gives someone solace, gives someone relief, comfort. Like if you have certainty in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, yaqeen in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants something that it's good for you. So whatever else happens, says, just a few days and it's over. And lastly, one of the results is الرضا بمكروه القضاء من أعلى درجات اليقين. That if someone happens a calamity, you lost something, you lost someone, right? Says Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted that, and that is, Imam Rida alayhi salam says, it's one of the highest level of yaqeen. On the opposite side, when someone's yaqeen been tested and is corrupted, we have several narration from Mawla al-Muwahhideen, Amir al-Mu'mineen salawatullahi wa salam alayhi in that regard. يفسد اليقين الشك وغلبة الهوى. What ruins your yaqeen? Amir al-Mu'mineen salawatullahi wa salam alayhi says in one hadith that لا تجعلوا يقينكم شكا. Right? You've seen that. Can that happen? Yes, it can happen. Yes. Some people say, I want to beat death. I don't want to die. You know that you're gonna die. He says, no. I want to beat death. What if, they invent, how the medicine is becoming very advanced now, and how about when they create something that I can buy and live another 1,000 years? So what happens after 1,000 years? Same result. Same result. And I said this in regards of Nuh ala nabina wa alihi afdal salatu wa salam, that when the angel of death came to him, and we calculated how many years Nuh lived, about 2,500 years, right? Imagine, right? When he came to take his life, he said, can I go, do I still have time to go from under the sun to under the shed? He says, yes, the shade of a tree. He says, yes. Then when he went, he says, my entire life was like a span of this going from under the sun to under the shade. And that's it. And one of the other things that ruins people's certainty is tama', always wanting. Nothing is enough. Nothing is enough. They're not satisfied with anything. They are satisfied with always more, and still said nothing will fill people's eye but what? Dirt. That's what they finally reach that conclusion. And one other thing that was interesting to me while I was researching the hadith in this regard says that الجدل في الدين يفسد اليقين. If you have a lot, you argue a lot in regards of religion. If you argue a lot, that will ruin your certainty. Like, I don't know if you've tried it or not, but after a while, I know people that their sole job is like that, always argue. And after a while, they say, we need to take a break. Why? Say, like, it's like we always see that we are in confrontation, right? Our soul is dying. You know, you reach a conclusion. Okay, go after it. Always arguing for the sake of argument. You've seen some people who are always at war, either with other people or with themselves. They're at war. They are warriors, like, you know, what they call it, the keyboard warriors. You know, nowadays we have that kind of technology that people can always argue with someone over the internet. Always. Before, they needed to maybe to spend some money to get out, to sit, to actually confront. But now, like hiding behind the computer thousands of miles away, they what? Arguing a lot. You reached certainty. Why you ruin your certainty with arguing constantly? And finally, it says that حب المال يوهن الدين ويفسد اليقين. That loving money as well, it does what? يوهن الدين, make your religion weak, ويفسد اليقين, and ruins your certainty. I said all of this because today we are commemorating a woman in Islam that was so great. It's, you know, how you can see some people are great. It's not what they say, it's from their action, what they actually do. A woman that truly didn't want anything for herself. Anything. She was raised well, of course, when Amir al-Mu'mineen salawatullahi wasalam alayhi asked Aqil, his brother, Ibn Abi Talib, to, of course, Amir al-Mu'mineen knew that he didn't want to, he wanted to elevate the position of Aqil. So Aqil always to be remembered as well, alongside what Amir al-Mu'mineen salawatullahi wasalam alayhi in this regard, because it's a great narration and a great incident in history. That find me a woman that true men of Arab given birth to her. So when they go to her and ask her hand in marriage from her father, one of the things that she says, her father says to her mother that is she worthy to Amir al-Mu'mineen? Is she worthy of Amir al-Mu'mineen or not? And she said that I raised her well. So from the get-go, from the start, she said that, well, I want to be a servant in your house. Keep in mind, Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam wasn't a Khalifa at that time. If you calculate the amount of, the age of Abu al-Fadl Abbas, you're going to know it from that. The age of Abu al-Fadl Abbas, Amir al-Mu'mineen wasn't a Khalifa back then. So, in regards of dunya, there's nothing there. There's nothing there. And again, it's Ali ibn Abi Talib. He's the most zahid person after Rasulullah and alongside Rasulullah. Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib says in regard of Rasulullah that Rasulullah كان يلبس أخشن من هذا ويأكل أجش من هذا وأخاف أن لما أفعل لم ألحق به. Rasulullah was wearing something that is much rough than this, tougher than this, and eats something that not as sweet as this or as good as this. And I'm afraid. I mean, what did he eat? his that day of month of Ramadan, he said, what? Leave the barley and not the milk, but what? The salt. So in that regard, she's not going to get anything. Then, okay, glory, the name, the wife of Ali ibn Abi Talib. Don't call me Fatima. Why? Don't call me Fatima. At the house of Fatima, because there is Hassan, there is Hussein, there is Zainab, there is Kulthum. When you call me by my name, they will remember their mother. So, what else? Then children. You want to know the certainty of Baneen as well through Abu al-Fadl Abbas salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi. What Abu al-Fadl Abbas said when he entered the Furats, when he wanted to drink the water, he left the water. What did he say? يا نفس من بعد الحسين هوني وبعده لا كنت أو تكوني هذا حسين وارد المنون وتشربين بارد المعين والله ما هذا فعال ديني ولا فعال صادق اليقين. By Allah's name, this is not what my religion is. And what else? By a person who has certainty. So, when you see the life of Umul Baneen, leave the youngest one. I'm not sure, was it Uthman the youngest one or Abdullah? I think it was Abdullah. And then Abu al-Fadl Abbas, what does he do in Karbala? He said to his brothers, go and fight and sacrifice yourself. He's the eldest. Usually protect the youngest. But in the case defending Islam, said no, I want to get that thawab as well, to see my brothers been slaughtered in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and defending their Imam Abi Abdullah al-Husayn salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi. That's what I want to see. So Umul Baneen didn't leave anyone. And she would go to Maqbarat al-Baqi' because there was no grave for her to visit as well. And start saying, لا تدعوني ويك أم البنين تذكروني باليوث العرين. Don't call me Baneen even. Don't ever call me that even. Because I had boys and I don't have even boys now. I have no one now. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted the name of Baneen to be preserved to the what? To the day of judgment. Don't call my name, everyone starts calling her name. Don't mention my name, everyone knows her name and what she sacrificed. No one dares to speak against her boys. And they just not ask hajat from her, but her boys as well. Imagine someone as great as Baneen salawatullahi wa salamu alayha. And that is the result of certainty. She had yaqeen. من أيقن بالخلف جاد بالعطية. When she is certain that with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, imagine if she would have said that, leave one of my boys. No, don't leave anyone. Give everything in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When the qafilah of Sabaya while Mohammad came back to Medina, they camped outside Medina, and there was conflicting news in regard of the martyrdom of Imam Hussein and what happened actually to Ahl Bayt salawatullahi wa salamu alayhim ajma'in. That was for several reasons. Was for the governor of Medina and They closed down Medina from receiving any news in fear of revolt. So Imam Zain al-Abidin said to someone who was accompanying them by the name of Bishr, Ya Bishr, your father used to be a poet, know some poetry. Do you know any poetry? He says, yes, Ya Ibn Rasulullah. He says, oh Bishr, go to Medina and wan al-Husayn and give the news to the people of Medina about Imam Hussein alayhi salam. Bishr came to Medina. Al-Khabar, Al-Khabar. I have news, I have a news. Where? Come to Masjid of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. I want to give you the news over there at the Masjid of Rasulullah. Then he starts reciting, Ya Ahla ma Yathrib la muqama lakum biha. يا أهل يثرب لا مقام لكم بها يا قتل الحسين فأدمعي مدرار الجسم منه بكربلاء مضرج والرأس على القناة يدار. O people of Yathrib, O people of Medina, Imam Hussein was killed. His body left on the plain of Karbala, and his head being placed on a spear going from one place to other. All of a sudden a woman came from between the crowd with a kid, with an infant kid on her shoulder. She said to Bishr, Ya Bishr, akhbirni an al-Husayn. Oh Bishr, tell me about Hussein. He was wondering, I am giving the news about Imam Hussein. Why she's asking me this? He asked them, who is she? They said, she is the mother of Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas, Qamar al-Ashira, Umul Baneen. He said to Umul Baneen, عظم الله لك الأجر بولدك عبد الله. May Allah give you a highest level, reward you for the martyrdom of your son Abdullah. She said, I didn't ask about Abdullah, tell me about Hussein. Then he said, عظم الله لك الأجر بولدك عثمان. And she said, I didn't ask about my son Uthman. And he said then, عظم الله لك الأجر بولدك جعفر. He didn't want to give the whole news about her children being slaughtered. She said, I didn't ask you about my son Ja'far. He then said, عظم الله لك الأجر بأبي الفضل العباس. Then I should say the child fell from her shoulder. She sat down. She said, قطعت نياط قلبي. You severed my heart. أخبرني عن الحسين. And then he said, عظم الله لك الأجر بأبي عبد الله الحسين. She cried out, وولداه وحسين. إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون. وسيعلم الذين ظلموا آل بيت محمد أي منقلب سينقلبون والعاقبة للمتقين. اللهم إنا نسألك وندعوك باسمك العظيم الأعظم الأعز الأجل الأكرم. يا الله 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 يا الله. Allah, we ask you at this night of Jum'ah to hasten the reappearance of our Master Sahib al-Asr wa Zaman Ajallah Ta'ala Faraj al-Sharif. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give a speedy recovery to all the patients, especially the mu'mineen and mu'minat, and the one who are from our community, Hadi. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give her health, inshallah, back as soon as possible. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to release and for the quick and swift release of all the ones who have been unjustly imprisoned in the prisons of the tyrants. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by the ayah Mubarakah Sharifah to grant everyone his lawful wishes. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم أمن يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء 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 أمن يجيب